Thank you for all joining us for another episode of Enclosed Cosmology Fellowship Roundtable. This time we have an amazing, excitingly awesome episode. We have Sean and Wes here from Uncommon Ground, WesBlazeMuziK YouTube channel, Kingdom and Context YouTube channel. Most of y'all all obviously already know who they are, but of course want to throw that out real quick. But before we get into that, we're going to go ahead and say hi to everyone that's here and go from there. So I'll throw it out to my main man, as always. Anthony, how you doing this Shabbat, sir? We don't have sound right now. Hold up, Anthony. Okay, I'm so sorry about that, guys. I had this set up incorrectly. I apologize. Anthony, go ahead and kind of start over. I'm sorry about that, brother.
You mean I got to repeat all that? I done
Yeah, okay,
forgot what.
I'll just repeat it. To all the moderators, please do not be banning anyone for any other reason than vulgarity, for spamming, or for personally insulting people. There's no reason to be banning people just because they believe in something differently than you. That is not what the round table is about. So please do not do that. Thank you. But anyways, just go ahead and say your highs, brother. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good, brother. Well, other than that, just Shabbat Shalom to everybody, and I want to thank everybody for being here and our special guest this evening. Thank y'all dearly, and I tell you what, we got a lot to discuss about those shows, and that was a bombshell that y'all did. That was amazing. Um, but Vader Bear, would you like to introduce our guest or
Oh yeah,
let everybody?
yeah. I'm definitely I'm gonna save the best for last. So I'll go ahead and throw it over to Daryl Lee. How you doing this evening, sir?
Oh, doing great, thank you. Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and I just want to welcome y'all to this side, the legal side of the 60th parallel. Shabbat Shalom.
Nice. All right, and Frankie, how you doing tonight, brother?
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Let's go, baby. We got a a heck of a show. I'm so excited.
I get that. Awesome.
Can't wait. Let's get into the crazy, baby.
Nice. Awesome. And then obviously not last, but definitely not least, we have Sean and Wes. We're so thankful, guys, that you came on. Just said you'd come on our show. We're all here. We have, where we share y'all's live streams constantly, and because of YouTube, and we're all fans of. I wouldn't say fans, like we're not fans, but we're definitely love the work y'all are doing and appreciate all the hard work that y'all put into showing the puzzle pieces as we would describe it, to everyone. So I just want to say welcome, and yeah, kind of say your highs to everyone.
Thank you guys for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to this. I hope everybody had a good rest day, and I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for all your encouragement. I'm excited to talk about y'all's thoughts on the series we just wrapped up, and I'll pass it over to my brother Sean.
Yeah, for sure. We're excited to be here. Glad that you guys invited us. We'd love to review some of the things we got to dig into this first season, and I think we're happy to see people have picked this up and have really become supporters of what we're doing. And same with you guys with the conversations you have on this broadcast as well. So thanks again for having us on.
Yeah, definitely our pleasure. And so, kind of in spirit of what we usually do here at Enclosed Cosmology, I want each of y'all to take a little bit of time to just say, a nutshell of your testimony, and then what was that final, straw that broke the camel's back, that final puzzle piece, like to you, that was just like that actually changed your mind from what you had been taught where we lived as opposed to where you now know today.
Sean, I'll yield it over to you first, brother.
Okay, sure. It was 2015. I was in the gym on the treadmill, and I was listening to a podcast that they started talking about the idea of FE, and I thought that was dumb, and I started laughing, and I laughed out loud, even to where people looked at me weirdly, and then instead of turning the podcast off, I continued to listen to it as I worked out for the next hour, and for whatever reason, that initial laughter and that initial feeling of thinking that it was stupid and it was irrelevant and it was just a joke turned into kind of a strange, unsettling feeling in my stomach. Where as I was listening to more of the conversation, I was also thinking of how much Scripture lined up with what they were talking about. And for me personally, it actually had helped me better understand the use of this word firmament that I had seen throughout the Scriptures and didn't understand at that point in my life. And so because I just thought I took the traditional modern interpretation of the word firmament to just mean the sky, and I kind of thought there was just 3 levels of quote unquote heaven, being the sky atmosphere above us, space above that, and then this unseen third realm of heaven that we didn't know where it was and couldn't locate it. So that's what modern day heliocentric people that are also Christians try to explain for this word firmament or heaven. And so that was my traditional understanding, but the more I heard this topic of, well, we could be on a flat circle of land that's enclosed, it made a ton more sense to what I'd already known. And so for the next hour, I just became more and more unsettled in my stomach because I was realizing I think I've been wrong about this. So it probably took another week of me studying the Scriptures before I came to a definitive conclusion that, oh, wow, I was wrong about this, or whomever taught me my previous perception about this was very wrong. And this is not what the words say. This is not what their definitions mean. So I started studying the firmament in great detail. And that's why I jokingly call myself the firmamentalist. And then I realized, okay, the Bible says what it says. I have a choice. I can either believe it or not. And so I decided to believe it.
Yeah, and for me personally, that's what brought me to Torah observance was biblical cosmology. Because when I said, oh my gosh, in Genesis, I don't have to do all these mental gymnastics. I can just read what it says and trust in that word. Then every time else where he says, do this, it's like I take that more seriously. I can't do the same mental gymnastics when he says, like, for Passover to keep this as a memorial for all generations. I can't skip over that anymore. So yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's when I came to Flat Earth in 2015. Must have been a good year for Flat Earth.
I know.
think it was. Yeah,
It was
that
so
was right.
weird. Why did they let that happen? It almost kind of makes me think of like, will they let the 2 witnesses be seen on TikTok and social media type of thing? But
Honestly, I don't know if they can stop certain things that the Father wants to allow to happen in the culture. That's why we always talk about on our Channel Kingdom context about the where I believe, and this is my personal application, so I want to make that very clear. But I believe that people like yourself, Vader, and not just the biblical cosmology, but also the awakening to what true discipleship is through his instructions that we call Torah. That awakening that people have had worldwide is part of Deuteronomy chapter 30, 1 through 3, where people scattered across the world under the heaven are all calling to mind his commands and his instructions. So that naturally, in order to make sense of that, and in the context of Scripture they're given, is naturally going to lead you to understand biblical cosmology, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though, of connecting the two.
mm-hmm, totally. All right, awesome. All right, well, what about you, Wes?
Yeah. Well, so my testimony's special to me because the Father knew exactly what I needed to bring me into the faith to the place that I'm at now, you know. And so it was 2014 when I was working in a door-to-door sales job and living in all the wrong ways and spending my all the money I was making in all the wrong ways, and really just needed a change. And I knew that I was at a place in my life where I was already in a dark spot, in a down deep place, and needed, you know, comforting, needed lifted up out of it, and needed some light in my life. And so the Father used my boss at the time, who wasn't the most upstanding individual either, but he also, you know, he had a background of faith, and he wanted to see me get baptized. And so he dropped a bug in my ear a couple of times, and really had me thinking about it. And so when he offered to set up the date for it, you know, that his church was baptizing people, that he wanted to take me out there to do it, I told him yes. I didn't think I had anything to lose, and it really had weighed on my heart that it was something I always wanted to do, you know, deep down. But I was raised in the faith. You know, we had some belief, but we were not Bible readers, Bible studiers by any means. We went to church, you know, every so often, you know, maybe once a month on average. But we we had conversations. You know, my mother and I was raised single parent household, Dallas Fort Worth, and we always talked about things about like evolution and trying to reconcile evolution with the biblical account of creation and things like that. And we had these philosophical and deep, you know, trying to get to the bottom of some of these understandings where we didn't have all the details. We didn't have all of the understandings to be able to flesh it out properly. But when I get baptized, I didn't want it to just be something that, you know, just came in and left just as quickly as it did, and it didn't have any effect on me. So I tried to take it seriously, and I remember praying that I wanted to know the truth. You know, I asked the Father, okay, so I've heard mixed things. I'd like to know, is the Bible, is it your word? Is Jesus who he says he is the Son of God? Is all that story true? And you know, even though I had the mustard seed of faith, I had that doubt planted in me, and you know, throughout the indoctrination we go through, as well as all the propaganda forced on us. And so he showed up. He definitely proves himself in my life. And one of the biggest things he used to do so was turning me on to the idea that we don't live on a spinning ball shooting through space. Because within the next few months after I got baptized, I prayed that prayer. Different sources, unconnected, unrelated sources, come to me to tell me that I needed to look into this idea that the Earth is an immovable plane. And so that was the first thing I started looking into. Next thing, I was learning about the Sabbath and finding out that the instructions of God are still true. And I was wondering, what else does the Bible still have, you know, available to us that's not really talked about, or that it's lied about. And I couldn't stop studying. I just had an insatiable thirst for it, to where I linked up with Sean after having watched him for about a year and a half, and really underwent that transformational power of the Holy Spirit really worked on my life, because I had a lot of addictions and just mentalities that I needed freed from, right? Some alcoholism, some drug use, and some depression mainly. And I have not been the same in those regards since. It was a fairly slow process. Took about 6 months to a year before I really was letting go of all those things, but I was changed, and I'm thankful to be here now to say that Yeshua is the Son of God, and that we should live as He lived, and that we do not live on a spinning ball in space.
Yeah. Definitely awesome. That was so awesome, bro. And just a little quick thing. So you said so Burleson and so my wife grew up in Crowley, and I grew up a part of my life in Burleson. I don't know if you know those. There's like South Fort Worth,
I
but
do.
I grew.
I went to Crowley High School for about 6 months.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
Nice. That'd be interesting. North Crowley or just Crowley?
regular Crowley.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's where my wife graduated from. So.
right on.
But anyways, yeah. So it's I'm definitely blessed by that because I have a very similar story. My parents were divorced when I was like between 5 and 6. So even though like I knew my dad and I knew my mom, you know, I didn't live I didn't only would live with them for about 5 years of my life. So um, yeah, definitely a lot of struggles and that type of stuff. And when he shows up for you, like like you can have like a belief in it. Like I feel like for me, I had this normal Christian thing where it's like I knew God existed and I knew kind of right from wrong, but I didn't spend too much time in it. Um, but then I had some kind of big things like you had in my life that I had to overcome. And shout out to my wife. If it wasn't for her and her mercy and her love, like I literally wouldn't have been able to make it through personally. And so yeah. Anyways, I don't want to take up all the time. It's just I can definitely feel for you for the type of things that you've been through. So, anyways, anyone else have anything else to say about those?
Yeah, I lived like a rock star when I was growing up. Did the whole party thing and long hair and crazy. But then Yeshua got a hold of me. Praise Yah. It's been a blessing ever since, and it's been a straight and steady ride.
That's
Good.
awesome.
Praise Yah indeed.
Both of y'all's testimonies kind of touched me because I went through pretty much the same thing as both of y'all. Although I never went to a gym, so I've been a time or two with my brother, and I don't like being sore for 2 weeks afterwards. But but yeah, I kind of dealt with the same things also, man. When I ran across this stuff, I just jumped out there with no fear, just dove in head first, eyes closed, and I'm like, well, this wasn't the way to do it. Now everybody thinks I'm crazy, you know. But then when the scriptures do back it up, and especially whenever you have these sort of something overcomes you and says, hey, you know what? My word is true. You can believe that. And then when you can test that and see that it actually is true, that's when it touches you, man. That's when it just that's all that matters at that point.
Oh yeah, yeah. The father's like, yeah, because he consistently shows up. So, all right, well, awesome. All right, well, let's. I definitely appreciate that, guys. Thanks for giving those to us. I know you have a million times before, so I definitely appreciate it. But let's kind of get into what we're here about. It's uncommon ground. So y'all put out. So y'all had a point 0.5 season, and then y'all went all the way up to 25. So. Um, 25 and a half episodes. And we all kind of picked out each of like we all enjoyed them all, but we picked out some of our favorites. And we kind of wanted to share those with you. And then so yeah, I guess let's just get into that. I'm gonna set that up to pull up on my screen, so bear with me real quick. Um, so for those who haven't, that may be on uncommon ground, that haven't seen Wes and Sean's show Uncommon Ground that they do on WesBlazeMuziK YouTube channel, definitely check it out. It's definitely it's awesome. So I'm sharing on screen here. This is like the playlist of Uncommon Ground. So definitely check all these out. There's so many good episodes, but we're gonna kind of key on a few of them real quick. Um, so we'll go ahead and start with yours, Anthony. You were kind of debating between the you really like Behemoth and Leviathan, but you ended up choosing Take on the World, and I guess I can kind of tell why. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about it real quick.
Yeah, I just kind of have like a little backstory about that particular show. I mean, it was my favorite show because I mean, let's face it, I'm in it, you know. I mean, but honestly, it was probably the most touching to me because I was there, and and Wes, you had mentioned earlier about being baptized and stuff like that. Well, I've got to chalk my baptism up as to the highest point in my life at this point. Take on the World is a very close runner up. And that's because I got to meet people like you and Sean and Rob Skiba and so many other people. I can't remember everybody's name. Johnny Cool, he was there, and it's kind of a odd little story about how I met Johnny Cool. But even still, that was a very touching experience to me. And when y'all did that show, I just relived it, man. I just about cried way through it, man.
That means a lot, brother.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it was good meeting you when you were there.
It was. We had a blast with you.
You were the
Wish we
last
had
person
more
I saw
time.
when I left.
Yeah.
Sean, real quick, was that you in the car pulling out?
Yeah,
And
I was trying to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, was that Sean? I couldn't see in the car, right? And I'm like, was that Sean? And then it drove off and you waved, and I'm like, that was Sean. I said, man, I should have run and hugged your neck and everything. But I was kind of tired at that point, and I was kind of discussing things like in my mind of what I should do at that point.
Yeah, you look pretty deep in it.
Yeah, well, but I'm thankful I did get to go to that bonfire thing. The little campfire they had. Man, I met some amazing people out there. Rob came out there and he stayed till like 3:00 in the morning. And I wanted to go over there and tell him, like, dude, you need to go in. You're gonna get pneumonia out here, you know. But it was the whole thing, man. It was just amazing experience. And when I walked in the front door, the first person I saw was Wes Blaze. I'm like, dude, I'm about to knock a table over, fix to go hug this guy's neck. He don't even.
That's so awesome. And so in that episode, it was basically all recapping your presentation that you did at Take on the World, which had a lot to do about the. Sorry, I have it playing with music. Which had a lot to do about the kind of model that Scripture is proposing, the seven-layer dome thing. And I don't know if y'all have ever noticed this. I'm going to pause this real quick. But I actually kind of had a little tribute into my logo for that. Now it's kind of hard to notice, but I'll bring it up in 1 second. You'll have to bring it. You'll have to wait on screen. But anyways, up at the very little top, there's actually 6 other lines, and then you have obviously the big dome part, which is the. So yeah, I know they're inside, and I don't have water coming down from the heavens. Still learning this programming, but despite that, I just kind of wanted to shout out that. So I think this is really interesting and makes a lot of sense because I always felt like there was more, and there's so many descriptions in other, from other sources that describe very similar things to this. And then so when you look at scripture and you see it being explained, um, then it's like, oh, okay, and because at first, right, I feel like we all just instantly went to the, okay, it's just a dome, and then outside of that's heaven type of thing. um and but then that didn't really make sense with some things that we observed in scripture and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought that was a great presentation. I didn't get to be there, so I am a little jelly that Anthony did get to come there and meet y'all guys, and I look forward to that. I heard there's like something going on with like maybe where y'all the group y'all went with for Sakkot this year. Like I think it's in Missouri. Um, they're having some type of Zoom meeting about maybe making like a like a community. But anyways, I bring that up because maybe something like that is taking Sakkot off is a lot easier than going to Flattoberfest or Take on the World, etc. for me because I have 4 children. So the logistics of modern day travel is prohibited, if you know what I mean. So,
Sure. Well,
anyways,
in the future, if we ever end up having a Kingdom of Context conference, you'll be much closer in the future.
yeah, because you're in Colorado, right?
I'm in southern Wyoming, northern Colorado area,
Oh, okay.
but I would probably hold it in that same area somewhere
Nice.
nearby.
Nice. Yeah, not too far away. But yeah, awesome. Like, what was y'all's like experience like at the Take on the World, and if you want to talk a little bit more about what you kind of described here, and anything that y'all got going on with this, as well as other additions to what y'all had shown.
Sure, sure.
I got a question for. Was that the first time you guys met Rob, or have you met him before, Sean?
It was my first time to meet him. Yes.
I had met him
Okay.
one other time at the Flat Earth International Conference 19 in Dallas.
Yeah, I heard he was real approachable and a real nice guy. So that's cool.
He is. He really was. Yes, he had a big smile on his face and just a warm demeanor.
Yeah, he was great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's right. Before I forget, Vader Bear, you're animated. This is the first time I'm seeing your logo animated here right now on the screen, and that flooding animation with the New Jerusalem going up, all that is really cool.
I appreciate
is.
that, man.
Yeah, I noticed that last week. I was like, oh, you got a New Jerusalem in there.
Yeah.
But you asked about the Take on the World. So I was actually invited to the Take on the World 2 years prior to that, because the one year ago before that was basically canceled in person, and they did an online seminar kind of style. Whereas I was invited to the one 2 years ago and wasn't able to make it because of finances and roommate situation at the time. And so then that same year I was invited to that. I was able to make it to the FEIC in Dallas, like I said, where I met Rob. I got to perform for the first time, but I wasn't asked to be one of the speakers. Pardon me, like I was at Take on the World with Sean. And so that was really a dream come true. It was a dream come true to meet Sean. It was a dream come true to get to make it to a Take on the World conference for the first time. I always heard such great things about it, and it really it lived up to all the mentions of it, right? It lived up to the good words people said about it, because it was a blast. It's always great to fellowship with people that have like-mindedness, that know the things that we agree with. So
Wes, it was Sorry, go ahead.
Nah, that's it. Go ahead.
It was a surreal moment when we were giving our presentation, and I kept watching all of the people whom you and I have watched over the past 5 years spill into the room that were going to be a part of the panel after us.
Yeah.
And just sitting there going, oh, there's Rick Ummer, there's Rob Skiba, there's all these other guys that we've been watching their channels, their presentations, their experiments. And here we are. They get to see us come up here for the first time and listen to us for a minute. And it was just kind of a surreal moment.
Exactly. I'll never forget, and I will treasure for the rest of my life, the clip of when Chris Bailey asked me to introduce the panel for the Q&A that we were doing there, and Rob Skiba was one of the guys in there. When I started rapping, he asked me to freestyle. Basically, while I was rapping, Rob looked over and started bobbing his head and looked like he was into it, and that just meant so much to me. Even before he died, right? I made sure to put that in focus.
I was actually still walking the trek over there when that was going on, but I got there shortly after. But as opposed to the Take on the World, I know you and Sean, y'all had a presentation to do too. How much like work went into that? I know y'all spent like way up into the morning working on a show at some point, didn't y'all? Like, for example, the whole series that y'all did, Uncommon Ground, that was just one episode at Take on the World, correct? So look how much work that y'all did on each episode. So if y'all would like it, just kind of share a little bit of like the behind the scenes or something.
Well, I think Wes has done like 80% of the work on all these shows.
Yeah.
So he's making all the graphics, the little video inserts, things like that. A lot of the editing. In the beginning, I was making a lot of the slides, but then I got really busy, so he took over the slides too, as far as the presentation materials. So that's where, in totality, I think that Wes, give a big shout out to Wes. He's done most of the work as far as the presentation. But behind the scenes, we had meetings as far as what are we going to talk about, which episodes are we going to do at which time, how are we going to schedule these guests. As far as the Take on the World conference presentation, we talked about that because Wes and I met for the first time at Take on the World as well. So we had talked in Zoom and other meetings about what we were going to present. And we even to the point of trying to time ourselves at one point, but because we realized that we were trying to pack way too much info in a small amount of time.
Yeah.
And then once we got to the conference and met, we were like, all right, now we need to actually get comfortable with doing this live together in person. I think, Anthony, that's what you saw that night as you were going to bed, as we were staying up trying to make sure we get it right for the presentation the next day.
Yeah, we weren't even up that late, really, were we? But that it all kind of had to come together right then and there because wasn't that the night before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that kind of thing, to be honest, it happened a lot with the show. Is that it just came together. I mean, with our collective knowledge, I said at one time on the show that I felt like I had been preparing for a show like this for the past 5 years. Because all the images, all the data, all the information and lists of links and resources that I'd compiled and had saved on my phone already came in perfect use for every episode. And so, in combination with the things Sean had taught me for the past year and a half or so, I was ready. And so we didn't need much time for each episode. The thing that took the most time, I think, was just putting together like video clips or the trailers, right? The teasers that I would make for each episode. But yeah, for Take on the World, we were wanting to cover, the broad, the entire encompassing message of the plan of salvation and how each aspect of the components of the creation model were used in it. And we hadn't covered some of those topics in episodes, right? We hadn't done a whole episode on Sheol yet or different things. So it was cool to be able to kind of put it all together in one place and do it in person for people because the reactions and the response was really fulfilling.
Now that I think about it, Wes, we should have dressed up as firemen with these big firehouse hoses swung over our shoulders because that presentation was just a fire hose of information.
It really was.
I feel bad for the people sitting in the audience.
The people who weren't familiar with everything
Right.
we talk about, yeah, we're just shotgunning it. But
I was just about to ask how that felt because, I mean, y'all had to put like a possible 3 hour stream together in less than an hour. And man, that had to be tough. Oh, wow. Y'all covered so much information in such a short amount of time. I think Chris and Liz ought to give y'all at least 2 hours next time.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I actually hoped, didn't want to offend Chris because I know that we were given 55 minutes. And when we timed ourselves, we were like, all right, we're going to stay to 2 minutes per slide. And that should leave us like a 5-minute buffer. But somehow, some way, it did not work out like that. So we ended up going over our time.
We even had 2 video clips planned to play during that we would have never had time for. We didn't anticipate the audience engaging like they did, wanting to interrupt or ask questions, I should say.
They say time flies when you're having fun, but man, it flies a whole lot faster when you're speaking truth. But I think everybody ran into that situation where they were running over their time. I could see how it's easy to do, but I think y'all ought to at least have a little bit more time next time because y'all did cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time.
Thank you.
That's what Wes and I talked about at the beginning of creating the series. We're like, all this stuff is connected, so we got to break. I mean, we can't just do a 5-hour episode every time and just go over all this connected information. We got to break it up into individual topics, make videos on those topics, and just pray that the Father brings understanding to the audience to put it all together. Because we'd also wanted to, in addition to biblical cosmology, as far as biblical scriptures, we wanted to mix in the actual experiments and the moments to where we debunk some of the lies that are out there that support heliocentric evolutionary model. And so it was just trying to like map out properly how do we break this up in a way that we feel people will get it, and also they'll want to come back the following week. So I guess the Father heard our prayer. Yeah, people like it.
Brother, I love it. And I got one little more thing that I want to talk about, then I want to kind of turn it over to everybody else in the chat. When y'all's Leviathan Behemoth episode.
Okay.
Can I talk about who I think would win?
Sure.
I think Leviathan will win, but I also make Leviathan kind of equivalent to the Godzilla movies. And I look at a lot of film, like Hollywood shows and stuff, and see how inverted it is from Scripture. It's like basically telling Scripture backwards. But yeah, when you look at the Godzilla movies, they call him the king of the monsters, which isn't Leviathan a female monster?
True.
So Godzilla being the king of the monster would do y'all see kind of how that would kind of correlate with being an inversion of Scripture when it comes to the movie, what the Bible says?
Of course, yeah. That's Hollywood's deal. Is they preach a Gnostic gospel at every chance they can, right? To invert the Scriptures and tell the opposite, but still using biblical themes the whole time, right? So, yeah, the Godzilla being male, whereas Leviathan is female, and Godzilla being like usually he's depicted as this, terrorizer, destroyer of cities, and killer of mankind, and that the army and men are trying to fight against this monster. Whereas in God's telling of Leviathan, it's a creature that serves mankind, right? The angels destroy it to feed mankind. So, yep, opposite for sure.
Right.
Totally. All right. Well, let's kind of move on to the next part of the show. We'll go over.
Let's let everybody else kind of ask their favorite episode. I kind of feel
that's what we're going on to, brother.
Okay.
Just bringing up the next episode. So, Daryl Lee said his favorite was actually the Antarctic one. That was episode 4, Into the Earth. So yeah, kind of talk about it a little bit there, Daryl.
All right. Yeah, to be honest with you, I haven't watched very many of the episodes, but there was something that in episode 4, I believe it was, that really stuck out, and I wanted to mention on because I've heard a lot of people say about the conspiracy about the Earth and stuff. Oh, that's just too big; it couldn't be true. But Shawnee, you'd mentioned about all these countries being in on it, about the Antarctica Treaty, and if they're all in on it, and to protect it, who are they protecting it from? So look at the treaty. Is everything else, all these other wars and everything else, are those all staged too? Just they're all in on. I mean, this whole big thing's just a show kind of thing,
Don, I think he was directing that at you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Daryl. You cut up a little bit from your signal. Cut up a little bit, but did you? So you're saying comparing the collaboration of the elites worldwide throughout history to also their collaboration with the Antarctic Treaty? Was that what you're asking?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So the way I understand it from my perspective of understanding Scripture, you remember in the Exodus where Yahweh is pulling the children of Israel out of the Exodus, and he tells them, I'm going to take you to Sukkot, and I will take you to a different route through the Red Sea instead of taking you along the land of the Philistines, because they would see war and they would get scared and turn back. So that's when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt and being removed from the nations for a time to go into the wilderness. Yet the nations were already fighting with each other in other regards. The nations have always been fighting with each other. Is it staged fighting? In some cases, I would say yes. But in other cases, I think that the enemy, this is the nature of their anti-Torah behavior. It always naturally leads to infighting. Disputes, power grabs, disputes for land and resources. But yes, they still collectively give an allegiance to the people they serve. And this is where I think in the days of the Exodus, they were still a few hundred years down the road from the Tower of Babel, where had they just been dispersed into different nations. And so I think the enemy, which I think is Hasatan, Satan character, who kind of puppet masters the kings of the earth in deception, getting them towards one goal so he can get them back to that one world unity like he had at the Tower of Babel. I think that's where we see the nations still in their own rebellion and wicked behavior. They they struggle against that type of unity, or it's not easy to accomplish that type of unity. Um, so in one regard, you have more powerful nations forcing smaller nations to do their bidding. And I think that's what we see with the Antarctic Treaty. That's why it specifically is designed for first world nations. So when your nation gets to a certain capability, a certain power, a certain economic force that could provide you resources in order to explore the outer edge of the plane of the Earth, that's when the quote unquote collection of first world nations gets together and says, you must sign this treaty. You can't back out of it. You must dedicate some of your forces to help us protect this land. And you can't tell anybody. You can't question this treaty. You can't go down there and explore and all that jazz. So do all the nations involved in the treaty understand why they're involved in the treaty? Not necessarily. But do the head nations that rule most of the other nations, this is why they have summits like the G8 or the what's now called the D10, I think. So like this is why they have those collaborations of large first world nations that try to dictate policy for smaller nations. Because those larger nations have been seemingly given their allegiance to the enemy, to be collectively going after the same purpose for the long term. Does that
Which
make any
makes
sense?
sense. Yeah, which makes
Totally.
sense why there was originally just 12 nations that signed the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, and all of those do appear to be pretty first world nations, wealthy nations, and then now there's 52 nations. So it's as if the big ones started it and then made all the other ones fall in line.
Right.
Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it kind of makes a lot of sense too. I don't want to mention any buzzwords, but what the whole world's seeing now too, that there's got to be a lot of um, collaboration behind it. But I could see where a lot of people are just falling in line because monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. But yeah, what you said makes a lot of sense. Definitely.
So
Yeah, I actually liked episode 4 myself a lot. As was one of my top 5. I would say. I don't think Wes and I have ever even talked to each other about what are our top 5 favorite episodes, but for whatever reason, I think that topic fascinates me as well as the Antarctica topic. So I hoped that if that particular episode, we talked about a lot of things, but there was the idea of the weather balloons being released from Antarctica that I thought was fascinating. That if people understood that this was something they did all the time and they were told when to do it, and also comparing that with the Book of Enoch and how it talks about the portals that these angels are in charge of that determine east, west, north, and south, different gates of how different weather affects the earth. And if we look at the FE map, you look at the flat circle of land covered and enclosed by a firmament, that means the outer perimeter of that enclosure, which we would call Antarctica, would be right next to those portals in which the angels allow different wind patterns to come into our enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a perfect place to start measuring weather so you can get a heads up on the forecast coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And like the ends of the earth and the four corners and the four angels of the four winds. Yeah, another thing that I really liked about that is you showed this picture, and I've seen personally pictures of the walls tons of times, but in this perspective of seeing people on top of it and the sheer magnitude of it, and then juxtaposed to that, he set a boundary for the sea so that the water would not violate his command, and he marked out the foundations of the earth. Proverbs 8:29. Like he's just like, here, this is where you'll go see, and no further. And like the silly, oh, you'll just fall over the edge. Yes, please fall over like, yeah, you can fall over that edge, but into the world. So, anyways, I really liked this thing. And then the last thing that I wanted to shout out was like y'all had those interviews, and I believe this is your lady's father, right? That you did this interview, that she did the interview with about biblical cosmology.
That's right. Yeah. Miss
Yeah,
Wildly Unpopular. She interviewed her dad.
that was awesome. I love to see people's hearts like that, like where they genuinely like are asking questions. Like obviously we all had the programming and that indoctrination, but like he was that you could actually see him looking on his face as opposed to kind of there's a different look when you're looking to prove it wrong type of deal. When you're soaking it in as opposed to just trying to push it away. But I really enjoyed the all of those that y'all did throughout when y'all had real life street interviews with people and kind of got to talk to them and have that kind of more intimate thing as opposed to just on the internet, right? But
Yeah.
that was definitely one of my favorite parts of the shows in general.
Thank you, brother. That was my favorite, one of my favorite aspects of it too. It was something I had felt called to do right, shortly before we started the show. I had felt it on my heart to go do some sort of street preaching, go communicate with people about the gospel message, about biblical cosmology, and try to catch some of it on camera for the benefit of others, to maybe encourage and inspire others to try to do the same, or to give them a better idea of how it should go, maybe. Or but yeah, it was something I also wish that we had more time to dedicate to. But as we found out, we we were not of any shortage of things to talk about and present on the show, for sure. As Sean was mentioning earlier, it was a tough process to whittle down enough to fill an hour or two of a show. Whereas, he said it could have been a 5-hour episode. We almost tried a couple times, right, with those 3-hour episodes. But yeah,
Awesome,
thank you
thanks, man.
guys.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
this is what Globebusters ran into as well, right? Where they ended up having like 3, 4, 4.5 hour conversations because there's just so much to cover pertaining to individual topics. And this is why they've had an army of government funded academia and straight up shills and all types of other information purveyors, I should say, of information to perpetuate the narrative of the globe, to reinforce it at every turn, because it has to be, because it is, once you truly take a look at it and you step back and you start trying to put together their evidence in a logical stream and it doesn't work, the average person starts to realize there's something wrong. And that's why they have to, at every turn, continue to push the globe with every resource they have. And so starting to dismantle all those claims and resources and show you where they're doing leaps in logic, or they're making claims that science doesn't actually present or back up, that can just starts just piling up, and you just have 4 or 5 hour show every time. So
Easily.
Yeah, and a thing with that is they like kind of what you were saying, they always just move the goalpost, right? It's like
Hmm.
before it was like, oh, boom, it's a globe, the boat is on the other side, and we're like, wait, but what about this camera? And they're like, oh, well, that's just refraction. Duh, like it can never, they can never be settled because they can't, right? They've spent way too much money. They have way too much invested in this lie to just go down without a fight. Of course, they're gonna do whatever they can to hinder, slow, hurt the community. So, and so they targeted our Messiah, right? So of course they're gonna target us. So it comes with the game. It comes with the I guess choice regardless, but um yeah, with those long shows and stuff like that, I actually love those. I love just being able to like soak in all this information while I'm doing something else or whatever it is. And I definitely appreciate y'all shows doing the same thing. And I know being able to do that it's awesome. It's awesome that y'all give that to us and all the time and you know yeah, it's just awesome. Well, before we move on to the next episode, did Daryl or Frankie, did y'all have anything to say about the episode 4, the end of the earth?
I just want to say to Daryl
No.
Lee, I've seen him in our chat before, and every time I did, I confused him with another brother of ours that has the same name, right? The big black guy that was in the military.
Yep, the Black Daryl Lee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I know.
It's
Different
actually
guy,
it's
same name.
actually funny. This whole thing started out on Anthony and Daryl Lee talking, and that was because at first Anthony thought that the Daryl Lee he was talking to was the Black Daryl Lee. And
Got it.
then they started a conversation. They're like, they got so many people. They're like, oh, let's do this Discord. And then I eventually found them through Austin. I found Anthony through Austin's channel.
I think I think Daryl tells the story the best.
I know. But but yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's move on.
Yeah.
Another one that was Frankie's. Frankie, his favorite was episode 20, the Beast of the Pit. You want to talk about that, Frankie?
I have actually 3 episodes. I want to talk about Alien Deception first.
No, that's mine, bro. You can't steal mine.
No, I don't want to talk about your part of it.
No, no.
There's oh, come on, man.
Oh, okay.
There's
Well,
actually
wait.
a
Could you
video.
wait till I talk about it, and then you talk about
All right,
yours
all right,
first?
all right,
Thank
all
you.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The
I'll
animation you
go
guys
with.
did for yeah, the animation you guys did for Beast of the Pit was off the hook, bro. I mean, and you gave us a teaser when you had Austin on. It was so well put together too, and it really gives us a lot of confidence to know that we're not near the end yet. You know what I mean? The until we see Nimrod come out of the pit, or Apollyon, whatever his name is going to be because he has so many different names. But Wes, the animation you put together was so cool, so off the hook, and I'm surprised it's not Vader's favorite episode, because we talk about Nimrod on this channel all the time, and I was actually surprised that he didn't pick that for his favorite. I also like Satellites and Satelloons too. I actually like the blooper reel you put together, Sean, with the satellites crashing into stuff, and the falling into the neighbor's backyard. You guys did such a great job with all the with all the videos and the animations and the music, and everything you put together for this whole series. I mean, you're going to have a hard time topping yourself, but if for next season, because you guys did a really great job. I mean, but now you probably have it down to such a science that you'll probably be able to take a topic and then just animation, music, videos, and just go off, because now you have a formula. It's a lot easier once you get a formula to do something that you can stay in that, because you know it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Sean definitely makes it easy. StreamYard definitely makes it really easy. So Sean's got that covered, on the back end with the operations of it, and we couldn't do it without him on that regard. But I really loved what you said about the Beast of the Pit episode, because how you kind of wrapped it up and summarized it was one of the biggest points that I wanted to get across with that. Like, I don't go into every episode wanting to prove to people that the Earth is flat. I usually have like some kind of theme and topic that I want to help get across for people to put the big picture together of all of it, because all of it does take place within the same setting, but there's some things that people have been really confused about that can lead people to go around making false claims and scaring believers, scaring others into thinking that their loved ones are taking the mark of the beast, and that it's all going down right now and it's going to end.
Right.
Yeah, it's all these things. And so how you said that we have more time, and that it's not going down until we see him coming out of the pit. That means so much to me that you put those pieces together. That clicked for you there with that, because that was my goal.
Now there's also a preterist view of it, because you showed the picture of the picture of the statue of Apollyon with the little locust in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a preterist, you could look at that as, hey, that's the statue that the second beast would have worshipped. So then there's more hope that on a preterist view, that it already happened in the past, and we're not even going to come close to that, because you know what I mean? So there's two views you can look at it. And that photograph of Apollyon's statue, when you put that up, I was like, wow, it's right there. You know what I mean? Because they would have had from it already happened kind of view. You're looking at the statue that they could have worshipped if it did happen. You know what I mean?
Frankie, can I lovingly challenge that view?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if that statue was the fulfillment of Revelation 13 and the second beast made that image to worship the first beast, the one that we presented, that statue we presented, and that all that already
Right.
took place 2,000 years ago during the first century AD, well, Revelation tells us that the demise of Apollyon is done at the hand of Yeshua. And then once that is done, Yeshua reigns on the earth forever.
And that the beast only has a 42-month period of reign, 3.5 years.
So how
The first
could
beast and
that
the
have already,
second beast.
both of them, so how could that have already taken place and that demise have happened and Yeshua had been responsible for that demise, as Revelation 19 and 2 Ezra 13 explains? And where's Yeshua at this point? Well, Yeshua is supposed to reign forever.
Yeah, right. But from what I understand, it's the first beast comes out and then he is destroyed, and then the second beast worships his statue. So if
The
Yeshua
second beast
is
makes an image
of his
of the first beast,
of the first beast,
right, and
and then
forces people to worship
and
the
forces
image.
everyone to worship, and that's where the mark of the beast comes from, right?
Well, he also causes
With
people
the
to take a
second
mark.
beast. Right.
Right, but the first beast and the second beast are working in tandem. They're like the evil little dynamic duo under the authority of Satan, and they both are.
So the first beast is still alive when the
Yes.
second beast is revealed.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And was it Revelation 20 where it says that they're both thrown into the lake of fire together?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're getting ready to talk about Nimrod. I'm super excited because I feel like he is a key component to a lot of scripture, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook him, um, and they make it more of a spiritual thing when it comes to the beast coming, that first beast. So I think that is a super interesting topic, and I'm super excited to get into it. I got an animation coming for that, so that's going to be really fun as that develops. So, but anyways, I brought up here. This is the Genesis 8. I'm not going to read this. Y'all can go ahead and read it. But this was a really great episode. I kind of want to say something as a gamer myself. You put in pictures of here. I'm just trying to find it. Bear with me. Of Civilization, which has Nimrod as a character that you can actually be. And this is so silly as a gamer, but
Is that where that came from? I didn't even know
yeah,
when I made it.
so he's a ruler that you can choose to play with, and I have refused to ever play with him because what I know about him, and like if he's in one of my games, I will that's the first person I go to destroy. So
Right on.
very
Yeah, it
silly,
is.
but
That lends to a question I saw in the chat earlier. Miss April Zuarth asked, "Do I make all of the graphics myself?" I really, all I do with the majority of videos, graphics, and everything that I've put together, all I'm doing is I Google search to find the images that fit with what I'm trying to convey, and then I'll piece them together. Sometimes I overlay images to make it my own, but it's always just other people's graphics.
Yeah, the trailer for that
still
was
do it
really
great.
good.
Oh yeah, it was so hype. And this one, you
The
played this
trailer
one
was
at
so
the
cool. I
end
couldn't wait for that episode.
for Leviathan. What is that? What movie is that from? Do you know?
Which one?
The
There was
one
dozens
where it
in
has
that.
where I'm trying to find it, where
The Behemoth.
Behemoth is like coming out of the swamp.
That's from a Kong movie, Kong Island. I want to
Oh
say.
really?
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna have
I
to go
forget what
watch
they
that
call it.
because that just like kind of gave me
Skull
chills when I
Island.
saw it.
Yeah, yeah. What'd you call it, Sean? Say it again.
It's called Skull Island. I think
Skull
it came out in
Island.
Skull.
2016.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Vader, I'll send it to you, brother.
Okay.
Don't buy it.
No, it's good. So yeah, I really think Nimrod is a really good topic. I feel like we should almost do like eight shows about him because like he's like of the seven and he is the eight. But anyways,
Right on.
let's kind of move on because you could literally spend more episodes on that because he is the center figure in every single so-called religion I feel like in existence, even including like Catholicism and uh, and like all religions and practices based I feel like based excuse me back to him better than where he got that information, which would have been from the unclean spirits left over from pre-flood. That's what
Hmm.
I feel like is kind of the so it's like all the same, and like you were kind of talking about like a multi-error. He was like um, like the pre-flood, they had a world, like they had a new world order where they controlled everything. We know that because the only, perfect in his generation was Noah, and everyone else was killed, and then so on and so forth. So then you had Nimrod's New World Order, and now they're trying to bring back that same thing through slowly being like, look, see all our religions, we all have these different names for it, but it's kind of almost what they did back in like the time of the like where Sean explained with like what was that Hermenumis, where it was like they started combining the two together type of
Yeah,
deal. It's like almost like a
Hermes and
repeat
Nuke.
of that.
Yeah, that's what I talked about in my Image of the Beast
Hmm.
episode and Best Day in Babylon series,
Totally.
which is the presence of the second beast in the Old Testament. His name was Nurgle. And then the first beast, which we know is Apollyon, his presence was named as Baal. So
Right.
not just a central character amongst the nations, but also in the Bible, the central bad guy that the Israelites always transgressed to worship. They were worshiping the first and second beasts and the pantheon of gods leading up to those hierarchical positions under the dragon. So it's the same hierarchy of false deception and false worship we see forced on people in Revelation 13.
Hmm.
It's always been the deception that people have drawn to in the Old Testament as well.
Totally. Yeah.
That's what blew my mind the most, just to realize that, wow, the same Antichrist, the same beast of the pit, and his counterpart that come out were the same guys that the Israelites, when they turned away from God to go worship other gods, is the same guys they were going to worship. It's been the same consistent storyline
Hmm.
from beginning to end.
Yeah. Exactly. And I kind of have a question for you later, Sean, when we get into the general conversations about your Torah portion. But it has to do with the angel of the presence of the Lord. So I'm excited to ask that. But just a little teaser, everyone. So did anyone else want to ask anything about the Nimrod episode before we move on? Or add anything?
Well, wasn't he the only one, like the list that Rob Skiba came up with? Wasn't Nimrod the only one that was actually an Assyrian, not Nero?
I think that's one of the things that Rob put forth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Micah chapter 5 talks about the land of the Assyrian. Some versions will say the land of Nimrod. And he ruled over those kingdoms because he took them over. So there was a kind of a off and on again relationship between the region of Assyria, which was north of Chaldea, and Chaldea itself, which was later on generically referred to as Babylon. So therefore, Babylon at one point ruled over Assyria, but at other points they were individual. But still together they worshiped the same gods and shared. I mean, at one point the capital of Babylon was in Nineveh, which is in Assyria. So there's like a connection between those two nations as part of the role they played, sometimes individually and sometimes together, in being under Babylon's control.
That was one of the things that I was surprised about when studying out the Beast and looking at all the things Sean had presented and put forth already about who the Beast character was that looking at culture and history and what all these different cultures believed and the different gods that they held, looking at all that extra biblical evidence really made the scriptures come more alive for me, that I never knew I would see that. I thought it would be the backwards, and it is the case. And a lot of times that you're looking at the scriptures, it helps make sense of the world more. But what is it you say at the beginning of every episode of Kingdom Cast, Sean? Your prayer.
Just that God would give me knowledge, wisdom, understanding of His Word in this world, so I can better relate His Word to this world.
That's right. Evident,
Beautiful.
have an understanding of the world and the word helps for sure.
Interesting. Awesome. Okay. Well, I actually had another question about Nimrod. It actually someone else asked it in the chat. Could Nimrod have become a mighty one and then transformed into Nurgle? That's what Edward McPhail said. Now, I don't know necessarily about the transformed part, but what do y'all personally think was the mechanism? Do you think it's just the eating and cutting of roots like it talked about in Enoch, or do you think there was maybe spiritual elements? What are y'all's kind of thought of how he did whatever he did? Because at least let me add this last part. Do y'all still believe he's still alive within the pit? Because I would say, yeah, he's alive, but then how has he been alive for so long?
Well, so the to the first part of it, you said, what's the mechanism? How exactly was Nimrod able to become what he became, if that's maybe the right way to put it? But Sean actually had a show on it, right? There was two parts, and I want to say that was the Road to Rescue. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. Where your second part, you covered, what was it, the Jed?
Yeah, yeah. The transitionary moment between this is why I don't talk about it a lot, because I know some people in Torah-based biblical communities really, really struggle when you reference any information outside of Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something in ancient Egypt called the Djed, which was a device of some sort. It's in museums as far as relics being found to it, and it looks kind of like the top of some of Tesla's devices, to be honest, that pulled in and transmitted the AC power. But essentially, it was a device that, according to some of the ancient writings from ancient Egypt, they claimed that it was the device that transitioned Nimrod or Osiris's flesh into immortal flesh. So, with that said, it seems as if, and at that time, by the way, that was when he took over the reins from Anubis, as far as being second in command to Ra. And of course, Ra would be the Hebrew equivalent of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
To the Egyptians, they called him Ra. And then, so at that time when Osiris was transitioned into this immortal flesh, whatever that looks like, which I think it's just basically the power to make him an unclean spirit, basically, so he can never die, or at least not die in the same capacity as a regular mortal man's soul. So therefore, just like Satan, who would have had the same knowledge as the Watchers from before the flood, knew how to create an unclean spirit. I think that knowledge was retained with Satan, who's still out running around doing everything. And for whatever reason, this Nimrod, all pun intended, was chosen and volunteered for this to become second in command under Ra, under Satan. Which is why you see in Revelation 13, it says the dragon gives his authority to the first beast. It's the same hierarchical structure. So it was Ra, Osiris, and then Anubis. Just like we see in Revelation 13, it's the dragon, the first beast, and the second beast.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you for that question, Edward McPhail, and thanks for the response there. So let's move on to the next one. So this was my favorite one.
Right quick, I want to shout out.
Oh, go ahead.
Right quick. That is a dear brother of mine. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been at Take on the World this year. That guy, he drove way out of his way to come pick me up, to bring me all the way back over there to Ohio to Take on the World. I want to shout out Edward McPhail. Thank you so much, brother, and I can't wait to come fishing with you, brother.
Wow, that's huge. We appreciate you, Edward.
Nice. That's awesome.
Amen,
I enjoyed
man.
getting to meet Tony
So
because of it.
So mine was a little spoiled, which is okay, but was the alien deception. Now, this is the first part I want to show into this now. This is literally, to me, this is comedy gold. It's and I actually want to play this part before y'all pause it, but this is the United States Space Force video game commercial. I mean, recruitment commercial.
Today, space is essential not only to our way of life, it's absolutely critical to the modern way of war.
No, it's not.
GPS, ATMs, cell phones, gas pumps, traffic lights, power grids, guided missiles. surveillance, RPAs, ground combat control. There's no such thing as a day without space operations.
Yes, there is.
You just don't see them. Earth is only half the battle. Cyber attacks and jamming of our satellites. Microsatellites that can create a debris field. At 17,000 miles an hour, a piece of metal the size of a coin can be weaponized.
Theoretically.
It's funny how we've never seen that actually happen.
Now is the
have we?
time for a military branch with a clear and singular focus on space. A military branch that protects the hopes and dreams of America and our way of life. As the space domain becomes more and more contested.
Near sun.
It's time for another giant leap.
CGI.
The United States Space Force is being built from the brightest minds across the space operations of the
Were they wearing actual Orchid
Space
Man
suit.
exterminator suits?
Oh, that's what it looked like.
future. We're getting ready for the 22nd century.
Cartoons.
When our enemies ask, what if? We will have an answer.
More
When
cartoons.
foreign powers can build bases on the dark side of the moon.
No, they don't.
When private companies are inventing a new economy beyond our planet. We need to stay one step.
So yeah, y'all go check out that episode. That trailer is literally, to me, like, if you watch it, the only parts that I swear are not CGI are ones like when they're on the ground and it's not showing the sky at all. Because like every single one of those things was computer generated or just like B-roll of the smoke of any rocket. It could be any rocket, not even one that's supposedly going up into space. And what's it's insane though, like I'm laughing at it, but what's insane is like there are people that are seeing that and being like, "Oh my gosh, it's happening! I am now gonna be a an astronaut, a space marine, if you will."
That was a good laugh. Thank you for reminding me of that. I forgot how much fun we had playing that clip. Like, there's not a day without space. And I'm like, yes, there is.
Yes, there is. Yeah,
Good
it
time.
was literally.
Yeah, Vader. I have a family member who is a part of the Air Force, and they were just recently, I guess, either applied or chosen to be a part of the Space Force, and they're a technical analyst. So I won't have any first-hand testimonies of them being any kind of space rocketeer of any kind, but isn't that the way it all goes, though, right? Like,
Compartmentalize
can we?
it up.
Yeah, you compartmentalize it. They think they're doing a noble thing, but all they're doing is analyzing data, right? And they're Christians. They believe in God. They're not quite woke to this concept, but they think that they're working towards what they're being told. I mean, that's a part of the military is you do what you're told. That's part of the literal training of boot camp is to indoctrinate your mind to that authority structure. So, that's just the reality that so many of these people working for these agencies by the hundreds of thousands, they don't realize that the end result is not actually doing what they're told it's doing. All their data in between, to get to that end result is probably real. All the work that they do in building, all the patents involved and different types of devices and small machines and parts that go on different spacecraft and different things. Those are all real. Sure, those are all things they can test on the ground. But is the craft that it's put on actually going to space? No, not at all.
Totally,
Not at all.
and my I would refer to him as my mentor, the guy who's like the elder at the Sabbath service group that I go to. He works for an aerospace company, and he has said that he has been a part of putting satellites up. And I showed him, like, if you literally like YouTube Antarctica satellite launch, you will literally see a picture of them launching a satellite from like this crane holding up the satellite and then launching the balloon, which I think y'all also shared on that episode 4. But yeah, it's really hard because like with the person who would be a data analyst, right? Like in their mind, they're having these numbers come in, which they believe are from a satellite or a spacecraft or whatever it is, and they're doing their job trying to keep people safe in their mind, all that jazz. And I think that pride eventually builds up where it becomes a part of your ego. So like someone who's like a science teacher, I feel like would be harder to convert than someone who never really even thought about what the world was. Like, yeah, they told me it was a ball, but it never made sense type of deal. But anyways, um, well, the other part that Frankie was talking about was the in episode 8 was the talk about the Vermanas. Now, super duper interesting. And I had remembered seeing stuff like depicted in their art and stuff about things floating in the sky, but I never necessarily thought, oh, those were floating in the sky. It was like a metaphorical place to sit, like to say, oh, they're above them, just like I did with like Mount Olympus and other things like that. But when you kind of showed it and broke it down, and then y'all started talking about what was it called, the red Mercury and the Mercury engines, and all that stuff, I definitely know that they've had way more sophisticated technology. Like technology has gone down. Like the stuff we're making today is like crude compared to what they had, I believe, post flood and pre flood. So, but anyways, yeah, that was a really great part. What did you want to add on to that real quick, Frankie?
Well, from what I understand, in Antarctica, there's one of the largest mercury deposits, and if they're closing that land off, it's probably because of that. The mercury engine is the key to everything. If you ever watched the E-War videos, he talked about the electromagnetic technology and how they had free energy throughout the whole realm with the electromagnetic transmitters, and they were a mercury filled filament that would create the magnetic and all the like the Washington Monument, the shoehorn, the horseshoe magnetic shape of these things. There's actually magnets in them, and they would harness the energy from the North Pole and the ether, and they would use the mercury to pull it down and create electricity. And when you started talking about that mercury engine in the spacecraft, and also Hitler got that technology and made his bell-shaped hovercraft, and when you broke all that down from the ancient scripts, it was like a bell went off in my head, man. No pun intended. But
you mean like the Mercury Bell project that used Quicksilver from Germany? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, they're hovercrafts, and they actually said that there was a battle Admiral Byrd had with them hovercrafts coming out of the water. I think we talked to Austin about that too. I know I did on a different server, but yeah, that was so cool the way you broke down, and you got all the. Where did you find that information? Because that information was so detailed on how to build the engine, how to build the craft, how to man it, how to fly it, how to the man shall sit in the cockpit of it. You know what I mean? It was so
yeah, there was a
research you did on that.
I was researching. Well, I've researched Vimanas for a long time, but as far as that particular piece of information, I got on a I can't remember what they're called, but you know how like they have those I think they call like Quartas, or it's basically like university sponsored websites where you can just do a question and answer board. And I'd found one of the question and answer boards about Vimanas from a specific university, that there was someone there on the question and answer board answering questions who was Indian, from India. And so he was actually translating some of the ancient Vedic texts from the Marbata, I can't remember all the names of those texts. They're really hard to say. From the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata and some of those other texts, and he was translating that stuff that it has been in those texts for 4,000 years, this whole time. And he was helping people. Now, of course, the average person that was reading that Q&A board had no clue what he was translating. They thought they were kind of mocking it, right? Thought it was stupid, because most people fall for this very twisted narrative from ancient aliens. But when I was reading it, I was like, dude, he's literally explaining the movements that we're seeing on camera from certain people capturing these things, and how they're reported, and their functionality and how they're designed and what they run off of. So then I was like, I wonder if, because the Red Mercury was a huge part of it, and I thought, I wonder if NASA knows anything about Red Mercury. And then lo and behold, I find in the National Smithsonian, NASA's area, I should say, of artifacts and relics in the Smithsonian, they have a Mercury engine. And then I looked up patents, and I saw that NASA had a patent for a Red Mercury engine back in the 70s, and it's now in the Smithsonian.
That was definitely one of the most fascinating things we covered in the first half of the season for me, was seeing all the breakdowns that Sean brought to the table for that presentation about the individual abilities that these crafts had, and that the operators of them were able to commission to do battle and mask their presence and all that cool stuff.
Yeah, the cloaking device, and the one picture you showed, you could actually see the circle underneath of it that would probably rotate. You know what I mean? And cause the hover of it. It was so cool. That presentation literally blew my mind, because I've been saying it all along that they have that technology, and you just broke it all down and it all just fell right into place for me. I was so cool. I was so blessed by that.
I know, man.
Appreciate it.
What is with y'all always like giving us so much gravy that we're just like full in the belly, coming back for more? Come on.
They're researchers, bro. They just research everything out. They diagnose. They dive into it. They tear it apart. They put it back together again. They're
all praise to the Most High, right? The Spirit of Truth leads us to all truth.
Oh, so awesome.
But I did hear that Antarctica has the largest deposit of mercury, and that would cause a treaty, because the mercury is probably, and it's all through the symbolism throughout this realm too.
We don't know that for sure. We don't know that.
It could be. The resources are definitely one of the big aspects.
What I heard. That's what I said. I heard. I didn't say it was definite, but that would be logical.
Well,
right. Go ahead, Anthony.
All right, go ahead, Frank. I didn't mean to interrupt, brother.
Yeah, and the Mercury symbol is all through on the statues, all through this realm. That they're like telling us that's what they used to create this energy. You know what I mean?
It's funny too, because Mercury is one of the other names of Nergal, Anubis, Hermes.
Ah, wow.
Speaking of Mercury real quick, it just made me thought. I watched this movie the other day. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was literally about them taking this drug called Mercury, which would take them to a place where they were experiencing all the times and all the different dimensions all at one time, and they could live and die and live and die and live and die. And I'm like, wow, so now they're just straight up saying Mercury will get you to a point where you can just experience it. It was very crazy, but that just came to the top of my head. Well, awesome. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to bring up about this, about the alien deception episode?
No, but I have another question. Sean, are you going to do anything about time travel in the next season?
Bro.
What do you think, Wes?
About time travel?
Yeah, that would be really cool.
The only thing that comes to mind is we've mentioned briefly before that there was a passage in Second Baruch where it says that the seasons and the times will, hasten more. What does it say? Hasten faster than the seasons in the past. And it reminds me of when Yeshua says that the days will be shortened. And so that's the only thing that comes to mind as far as like time speeding up, but not actually traveling through time. I haven't seen any evidence for that personally.
Me neither. Sorry, brother.
Even if you debunk it, that would be cool.
So, all right, well, let's move on kind of to the next part. Definitely appreciate that. So, now we wanted to kind of, if you don't mind, we had a couple songs of yours that we wanted to share with everyone. I'm sure some of y'all have already heard these, but they are definitely ones I rock to. Now, Anthony picked one. His was the opener of the,
Well,
sorry.
right.
Oh, go ahead.
to play the songs, I would like to mention the guest that that Sean and Wes had on Common Ground. They had some musical guests and some other guests as well, special guests as well. I'd like to give them a shout out right quick, but I do want to talk about one of the musical guests that I'd like to meet. But y'all had Mike Marantha and Marlon and Ken Heidebrick, which that dude there is awesome. I'm still trying to pick up on his work. And Matthew Jensen, those were some musical guests that I'd never heard their music before, but when I listened to it, it really moved me. It was really good stuff. And y'all had our dear brother Nate Wolf as a guest one time, and of course Chris and Liz Bailey after the Take on the World show. That, like I said, that one just brought tears to my eyes right there. Y'all had Austin Whitsitt and the Founded Earth brothers. Y'all actually introduced me to them. I didn't know much about their work, but after y'all had them on y'all's final episode, I started looking into them a little bit, and man, I really like them.
Me too. There's some spirit-filled guys, aren't they? Great dudes.
I just want to speak real quick and say that we had people like, did y'all hear that that the Uncommon Ground channel got hacked? There were, believe it or not, people that believed that there was a like that something really had happened there. So
that's great. We had fun with that.
Yeah, that was funny, but. Yeah, and Whitsitt Gets It. Like that's who brought me to this channel. Basically, was me and Anthony met on his channel. I got to spend some time with him when he came out here for his Activision, which was one of the craziest episodes of them all. Like that was literally one of the most intense situations. I did not expect that. And
did you get attacked too?
Oh, dude, no, you don't even know, man. It was when she came with the bat. I was the one holding the camera because she was trying to break it. She went like another girl. She poured water on the speaker. I was there. Like I was right there. It was so intense, and it was literally one person that pretty much caused all of that drama. So yeah, that was unfortunate. But after she left, she skedaddled. It got much better, but. Yeah,
I missed all that. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was very intense.
Yeah, it was like a mini version of the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, whereas the people that got attacked suddenly then got blamed for being attacked.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing I'd ever watched live, and all these people come up to accuse Austin and them of causing the girl to come attack them, and you're like, whoa, wait, what? What kind of drugs are we tripping on here?
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was strange.
And all of that was happening out in the open in this place. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. But I heard y'all like maybe like I don't know if that's in the works down the pipeline eventually gonna make US are gonna make a song with Austin, which that'd be pretty awesome. Is there any progress on that, or is that more a distant future type of thing?
Oh, near distant future.
Okay.
If I can. Yeah.
Nice.
Near and distant at the same time.
No,
so we have agreed to do it, and we haven't talked about ideas for it yet, but it is in the works.
Nice. I'm pumped for that because two of my favorite musicians coming together is awesome.
Cool. Thank you. What's up, Anthony?
Oh, I'm sorry. To kind of finish up, I just want to talk about Matthew Jensen for just a minute about his music. When are Sean and Wes and Matthew Jensen gonna do a song together?
You mean Ken?
No,
you mean Ken and Wes and Matthew?
We can add him in there too. But I was thinking of a trio, but hey.
Right on. I don't know. Me and Matthew, that was the one musical guest that I didn't really talk to about working with, and not because I wouldn't want to, just because I've never heard him, being maybe even open to the idea of doing a cross genre song, kind of like that. Like, but it's a possibility. I wouldn't be opposed to
That'd
it.
be so good.
We haven't talked about it.
That his
That-
song Enoch Walks, like that song gets stuck in my head for sure.
One of my faves too. I must have listened to it when I made that trailer for it, and I did a little 1-minute snippet of that song. I must have listened to that 100 times.
I'm not joking with you. That is the first and only song that has ever made me get up and dance.
Cool.
Great.
But yeah, rap with a banjo. Oh, it's got to happen, Wes. It's got to happen.
That could be cool. Yeah, we'll work on it.
I like the song from the season finale, the one you opened with, "Beginning and the End."
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know who did that. Who
Ladies
did
and
that?
oh, beginning and the end. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's from the beginning and the end is the chorus.
I'm not familiar. I know you said the one that we opened with and the one we played on the last show.
Yeah.
That's called "Ladies and Gentlemen."
So
That's the one I did, right?
So speaking of which, that was actually
yeah,
the
that's
first
the
song that I wanted to play. It was the one that Anthony picked
Oh,
out.
Right
So
on.
I'm gonna share that with the stream real quick. So we got about 4 minutes, guys. So if anyone from the panel needs to step away for a second, go ahead now. Do that while I share everyone this video. So here we go, guys.
Cool. Thank you.
And Sean, we need some albums from you too, brother.
Brother, as soon as I get these other 4 projects I'm working on, I'll jump right on it.
Awesome. All right, here we go, guys. Here we go, guys. Wes Blaze, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. I know the way, I know the life, I know the hurt that's in your eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I know that people let you down, and the world is a scary place, but hope can be found in the saving amazing grace. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. I know the way, I know the life, I know the hurt that's in your eyes. I know people let you down, and the world is a scary place. Hope can be found in the saving amazing grace. Gather round, listen close, and I'll tell you what matters. This world is temporary, yes, what comes next is hereafter. You have a choice to do what's right or collect a disaster. Who will you be when you're standing right next to your master? I'll break it down for you one more thing though. I'm no longer worried how the diamonds in my chain glow. I don't get down with all the music on the radio, and nowadays my focus isn't stacking up a bankroll. Ain't nobody saying that this faith walk a cakewalk. Gotta shake off all that hate that they talk. And I don't sleep talk, I just make the weight walk. Cause everybody wanna be the same, gotta break off. Go ahead and turn all that Lil Wayne and Drake off. Let the old burn away and you can wipe the slate off. Don't worry about the people in your way, they don't flake off. Let them know you love them, but you gotta take the fake off. If they don't wanna get it, it don't gotta be a face off. Plant the seed with patience and just pray, because it pays off. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. I know the way, I know the life, I know the hurt that's in your eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I know that people let you down, and the world is a scary place, but hope can be found in the saving amazing grace. All the teachers teaching, can you please just turn the speakers up? It's another speaker's turn to speak the truth, nobody's speaking up. So let me speak some words nobody else can seem to speak enough. You can find it if you seek it, it's no secret that the secret's up. So really peep the visual, really keep it critical. So many of the things that they teach are really fictional. Might seem conventional, maybe deemed traditional, but meanwhile anything biblical is mythical. I don't even really mean to be so cynical, but how does anyone believe a big bang? Pitiful. This thing evolved into this thing despicable. Why are all these theories scientifically admissible? Time is of the essence. So what's the lesson? Are we checking the curriculum with no second guessing? And to the message that we're stressing here, does God give us blessing? I can't help but get impressions. We were born to be destined, like there was more to be questioned. It's like a war for our spirit. So I'm sending out a call and I hope that you hear it. We got this book here saying this, look here in your ear, making this good book disappear, and it's clear. I graduated from learning lies to seeking truth, indoctrinated to be too blind to see the proof. I once was lost, but now I'm found, so I shine light. And everywhere I go is darkness, so I shine bright. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. I know the way, I know the life, I know the hurt that's in your eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I know that people let you down, and the world is a scary place, but hope can be found in the saving amazing grace. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. It's joy to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies.
What an awesome video, guys. I love the animation and stuff that you used for that. Really cool there, Wes. That was the city and showing everything was definitely awesome. Um, is there anything that you wanted to comment about, Anthony, or should we just go on to the next song?
There's a lot I want to comment about. The very opening line about that song. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How does it go? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Babies and citizens, it's joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies.
That's right. Is that not what we're seeing today, though? That revival, that revelation, people coming together.
That's right.
Do you remember when the Psalm 119 Ministries put that friend finder map thing out where you put the little blue dot where you live and all?
Sure.
You remember when it first came out? It was like so spaced out, like, my gosh, I got to get a plane ticket just to get to my nearest friend, you know? and now I can just about throw a rock and hit somebody. Although nobody is really close in my area as far as close where I can go visit them every day or every other day, whatever. You know, it's like an hour drive one way. But still, did you see that map just explode? It's just all over the world. It's like when it first came out, it was next to nothing, but now you got to really zoom in on it. In my opinion, that is that's what the churchianity people keep saying. The church needs revival. The church needs revival. They're gonna miss it because they're up in that box with the stained windows where they can't even see outside. They're gonna miss it.
An exciting time to be alive, for sure. Yeah, I've seen definite evidence of the Spirit working in the masses just because trying to talk to people about these topics 5-6 years ago, the vitriol was on another level than it is these days. I feel like, at least in my personal experience, I've noticed that people are warming up and more open to the truth on a larger scale than they were, almost a decade ago.
Kind of something sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say something that I've noticed is a lot of people coming out of mainline Christianity and coming to Torah observance. And I was thinking kind of similar lines of what Anthony was thinking about. Like, my whole life they were in church, they were talking about this great revival that was coming, this great revival. And then I see all these people coming to, like I said, Torah observance, and I'm like, this is the revival. Like, we're actually reviving to the behavior that he had been trying to get us to do all throughout Scripture. So,
yeah. How are you defining the word revival?
Yeah,
because if you define it according to the Scripture, there's a massive worldwide revival. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Yeah, all right. Go ahead, Frankie.
Hold on. Yeah, Wes, it was "Don't Let Me Go." I'm sorry, with you, Mike, Marantha, and Jo. That was the song. It really that was off the hook.
Guys, I've been. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done, Frankie.
Go ahead.
I've been privileged to hear a sneak peek of stuff Wes is working on. With you guys are gonna be blown away his new music. Just wait.
Awesome. I'm
That's all.
excited.
I can't
Hey,
wait. Hey, Wes, we need at least something, man. You got to give us a spoonful of something, man.
Hey, wait, we'll get to that. But before we do, you also did a song with this is the one that I picked out with Sebastian Calico called "Wake Up" or "Stressed Out RMX." So I really love this
yeah.
song. Is this song based upon like a real song? Is this like
So
a kind of like a
21.
parody?
That's all right. 21 Pilots did a song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just sampled.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I just
yeah.
Cause
sampled their
well,
song.
it's a great
Yeah,
it's
that was a
no.
big hit for them too.
Oh, dude,
That was a
like
big hit for them. Yeah.
totally. And this is great. Like I knew like I felt like it was like a sample of something or whatever, but the way you did it is so awesome. So if you want to talk about a little bit more about Wake Up before we play it, that'd be kind of cool.
That's all right. Yeah, I was gonna say a quick thing about the
Oh,
song that y'all played last was like "Ladies and Gentlemen," right? I did that right before the Take on the World conference, online conference that they had. Remember, I was saying earlier that the in person Take on the World was canceled last year, yeah. And then so they had the online one, and they asked me to if I wanted to give them a song to premiere or something or to play, and so I had put that one together. That was one of the quickest songs I had put together by myself, where I
oh,
completely
nice.
made the instrumental, wrote it, recorded it, did it all on my, and I didn't do that on my phone, by the way. I had a desktop for that. But
Nice.
yeah, with Wake Up, we did an original version where I made a beat and sampled 21 Pilots and Amber Plaster's husband, Tony Stover. I was a huge fan of Amber Plaster's music, and I began to be a fan of Tony, knowing that he rapped and stuff on her songs as well too. And so I reached out to him, and he had no problem jumping on it. And then we did a remix. I think is what you're about to play, where it's just we didn't do the remix, whereas we didn't we didn't record new parts for it. I just took the same song and changed the beat out, where I just used the 21 Pilots beat
Oh,
and slowed
nice.
it down a little bit so it fit the song. But yeah, Wake Up.
Sweet. Here we go,
Yeah,
guys.
that's awesome.
Awesome.
you need to wake up, you need to need to wake up.
Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead. Christ shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise.
Have you ever wondered why, when you looked up in the sky, exactly how the sun and moon ended up the same size? It's 90 million miles and 250,000. Y'all can beat my poker face, cause that defies some odds. Yeah, I'll tell you this is gambling with every dose of Ambien. You're managing to transfer in, so let me be your wake-up call. Let me be your wake-up call. You ever been to space at all? Who's above us? One that loves us or aliens that hate us all? Man, I used to catch some Z's on this flat plane. Then the alarm.
You need to wake.
We used to play pretend,
Wake up.
Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face saying,
wake up, you need to wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Gosh, that is such an awesome song, guys. I like one of the first times I heard that was on When a Witsit Gets It streams when he was taking a break. He was blasting that to the people, and dude, that's such a hype song because it's like it's really shouting out to people like you need to wake up, and the verses are beautiful in everyone's parts there. So definitely appreciate that song as one of my favorites of yours for sure.
Thank you lots, brother. I really appreciate that. We had fun with it for sure, and I really enjoyed getting to perform it at Take on the World 21 there with Anthony Stover as well. We had fun.
Hey, with sampling, is there copyright infringements, or how does that work out with royalties if you do make it big with that?
Oh, I'm not trying to get royalties, especially not on a song where I've sampled, copyrighted work. I come from a background in Texas, coming up in the music scene when I was growing up, at least listening to the music that I listened to, coming from an underground scene in Texas, it was very commonplace in mixtapes, right? The mixtape scene, people would take other people's music and reinvent it. And really, nothing new under the sun. We're at a place in music these days where nothing's really new anymore, right? It's all been done to a certain extent. So I'm not trying to make money off of, illegally in any way off of people, and I haven't looked to sell these pieces of music. They're all available for free, for sure. So I'm not positive about the royalties and how that would work out, but I don't think it's going to affect me.
Totally.
Nice.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for letting us play those, Wes. Those are amazing songs. Everyone go check out WesBlazeMuziK. If you haven't already, subscribe, click the bell, all that jazz, because he, as Sean said, he's working on some new stuff, so you don't want to miss that when it comes out, as well as when the new season of Uncommon Ground comes out. So super excited about that. And then before we go too much further, I want to shout out obviously Sean as well. Now for me, Kingdom Cast has like brought a lot of a lot of answers to things that I was wrestling with in my mind and in my research and my my journey to grow closer to the Father and into perspective. And so I definitely appreciate this show, and there's so much to glean and learn from this, guys. So obviously, if you haven't, go check him out, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz, just the same. But I wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit more, um, just in general about kind of what you have got, what maybe you got coming next. Um, about this. So I'll go ahead and start off. The Four Horsemen was an amazing stream. The CIA, Jesuits, all that. I don't even want to point all these ones are all amazing. And how many episodes are you thinking that it's going to be total? Like, do you have a number, or has that number changed as you've gone through it?
And so you're specifically asking about the Investigating Babylon series?
Correct. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, on Kingdom Cast channel.
Yep.
There's gonna be 21 total, and we've already done 18 so far. And so the next broadcast, I haven't released the release date yet. I haven't announced that yet, but it's probably going to be in a couple weeks, to like 2 weeks. But that one's going to be episode 19 and 20, back to back on the same night, and then shortly after that, if not the next night, the next following night, I'll do episode 21 and then finish out the series completely. So
nice.
Cannot wait.
At that point, you guys will probably try to have me back on just to talk about that series.
Oh, totally. Yes. I'm so excited for that. And the ball top towers, you kind of mentioned that today with the Tesla coils and the similarities of those types of structures, which is super interesting as well. But what were you going to say, Anthony?
Oh, I was gonna say, brother, I'd love to have him on every weekend.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's a fun series. The whole point of the series is to break down Babylon throughout history and into prophecy in the future, up to the day of the Lord, and as how that plays a role as a kind of a background character, if you will, to the head of the house of evil, all throughout the scriptures. Just kind of breaking down where they came from, what motivates them, their behaviors, their deceptions, how we can spot those everywhere in our life today, how they're consistent with how they perpetrated those deceptions in cultures in the past, and what the scriptures tell us they're going to use those same tactics from the same leaderships that we've already talked about from Revelation 13, how they're going to use those going into the future up until the day that Yeshua returns to stomp them out and finally remove them from the earth.
It's been a super fascinating series, Sean. I can't thank you enough for all the work you put into that, and I just wish I could hurry you up with the last few episodes.
I know, right? I'm always calling into him shows, kind of poking into stuff he's gonna cover, but it's I can't wait. Just answer my questions now.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good times. We talked about season 2. We're gonna try to touch on eclipses.
That's right. Yep.
So
there's a big mystery there that we.
Yeah. So that's what part 19 is going to be about. Well, it's going to include the idea of eclipses in part 19 because, as I've teased already in the Investigating Babylon series, biblical cosmology does play a huge role in understanding Mystery Babylon. And this is why they don't want you to understand biblical cosmology, or you'll see what is apparent in the scriptures, as I'll be revealing in the last few episodes.
Exciting stuff.
It's all tied together, guys. It's all the same story.
Oh, yeah. Nothing new under the sun. Awesome.
Hey, did you guys ever think about doing an episode on ancient maps?
You know, I have enough of a collection. I have a collection enough of maps to where that's a possibility. But yeah, we'd have to look into that idea.
Yeah, Tommy downloaded a whole folder of all these ancient maps on our Discord channel.
Yeah, they're very interesting to look at.
Cool.
I wonder actually how you got that. It's quite a collection.
Good stuff. I wouldn't mind having a link to that.
Absolutely.
Oh, Tommy at That Flat Fellow. Yeah, check out.
Yeah,
he does act.
Yeah, he just recently did activism where they went they took flags and capes and they went and did litter collection. just while like flat smacking people driving by as they're picking up trash. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Anyways, all right. Well, we're coming to a close, guys. We're at that 2 hour mark. So we didn't get really into the general questions, but I felt like we got some throughout there, and of course, we could always want more. But before we go, I'll go ahead and let everyone say their goodbyes. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll start first. Sean, Wes, thank y'all so much, not only for coming and joining us on the show tonight, but for y'all's work, both Kingdom Contest, music, as well as y'all coming together for Uncommon Ground. It has definitely been a blessing to me as well as many people that I know. So thank you so much for being obedient to the Father like a good son should. So I definitely appreciate that. To everyone in the chat, Take on the World, again, shout out to y'all. Thank y'all so much for giving us a place where we can also share our puzzle pieces with y'all's community. So as always, thanks Chris and Liz for that. To everyone that's here in the chat, to everyone that's going to see this later, thank you for being here. We'd ask that you leave us a comment. We're going to read out a comment here really quickly of our last video. We ask that you would share this to people, like, subscribe, all that jazz as well. It really helps us out and grow. And like I always say, I just want more puzzle pieces to the table so that we can share and grow together. And then through that, remember that iron sharpens iron, and that requires the heat, friction, and the removal of material. So we always got to be willing to hone those edges, even when it's painful with that friction and heat. But other than that, thank you so much, guys. I'll go ahead and throw it over to Anthony.
Oh, we're gonna throw it over to me. All right. Well, well, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I back up Vader here when it comes to my appreciation to you, Sean and Wes. Thank y'all for coming on our show and hanging out with us, and thank y'all for the work that y'all have done on Common Ground and each of y'all's channels individually too. Y'all are awesome pillars of the community. I tell you, thank y'all for hanging out with us, and Shabbat Shalom, and I appreciate everybody for coming and hanging out with us in the YouTube chat and and the Take on the World YouTube chat as well. And I hope to see many of you, if not all of you, plus more back next time. But
For sure. Thank
Awesome.
you guys.
Thank you,
It's been my pleasure. I really enjoyed the time with you, and you guys are brothers to us. We love you.
Yeah, you guys are great. Appreciate you.
Awesome, thanks. All right, let's go to Daryl. After Daryl, we'll let Wes and Sean go, and then I'm going to let Frankie close this out so he can call out a song. So go ahead and say your goodbyes.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, hey, thanks. That was a good episode, y'all. Just wanted to thank you, Sean and Wes Blaze. And hey, Wes Blaze, you just got a wonderful energy, man. I can't help but smile when I see you guys talking and stuff. Anyhow, I just love y'all's work, and we're all blessed to have you here. Thank you. All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, brother. Very encouraging. I
brother.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Wes, Sean.
Yeah, I got two things to say really quick before I let y'all go. Is the first thing is that I've said it a dozen times. I'll say it again. I was looking through ministries and trying to learn all that I could when I first came to a real seriousness of the faith to study out and test all things, right? And so a couple ministries that I cling to that I began to learn and grow to realize that there were things that they taught that I just didn't sit right with me and that I found out weren't the truth. And so I was really striving to find ministries that I could feel like I was learning from and that I didn't feel like I could teach them a thing or two, you know? And whereas I stumbled across Sean Griffin at Kingdom and Context, Ken Heidebrecht at Hanging on His Words, and between those two gentlemen, I have learned more from studying alongside with them than I've learned anywhere else, all combined. And so I'd recommend anybody in the chat that's not familiar with each and every presentation that these gentlemen have put out and put together, very much highly encourage you guys to go check them out. Just browse and binge through their channels because there's a wealth of knowledge there. Second thing I want to say real quick, this is a world premiere. I got to stand on my flat ground. What do they tell us it's spherical for? What's going on in the background? Haven't you heard it's a spiritual war? I'm not the type that'll back down, because I got the knowledge and fear of the Lord. The truth is under attack now, so gird up your loins and pick up your sword. The battle heavy, stay battle ready, because the battle steady, mash on. You can tell that he's battle ready from the tassels that he has on. So suit up and boot up and put on the armor. Make sure that iron a little bit sharper. Let the light cut through the darkness. It's about to get a whole lot darker. Mayday, it's an all-out melee, and the devil don't take no vacay till the coming of the terrible great day. Fight that fight, never mind what they say. To reject the law is to praise the wicked, and to accept the law is to fight back. The call of duty is to keep the law, and that's the whole conclusion, just like that. And I'm Wes Blaze. This has been an amazing time. I appreciate you guys.
Yo, Wes, I got the chorus for that. Yo, Wes, I got the chorus for that. Thousands and thousands of lies right in front of your eyes.
Hey, we need a with like millions of people cheering for that right
Totally. Awesome. Thank you so
I got
much
that
for
from
that,
you,
guys.
Sean. I got that from you, Sean. You were talking about thousands and thousands of lies in the Saddaloon video, and I picked up my guitar and I started singing that chorus. Man, you can have it, Wes, if you want it.
Righteous. Well appreciated, sir.
That's awesome.
All right,
awesome, Wes Blaze. I can't follow that. What are you guys thinking? Yeah, just thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for the props, Wes. I appreciate you, brother. Obviously we couldn't do this without you, Wes. Obviously, when I talked to you about the need for this type of show, I knew that you were the right man for it, because of our previous interactions. So thank you so much for taking a risk to do this show with me, and how the Father I feel like the Father's blessed it with our initial efforts, in spite of any censorship, in spite of videos getting demonetized, and in spite of all that, we're just going to press on and continue to make episodes for you guys with season 2. So I'm really excited about that. And I think that, I just want to warn everybody that the timing of season 2 may coincide with the release of Lighthouse and some other projects I'm working on, also my study guide. So I may be absent for a few episodes depending on how busy my schedule gets, but Wes is already prepared for that. So, but ultimately, I look to contribute and be a part of his show for as long as possible. And, but guys, it's just been such a blessing. I appreciate you guys giving us so much warmth and appreciation. And for everyone watching, make sure to subscribe to WesBlazeMuziK so you can catch our new episodes.
Thank you, brother.
Sweet.
Sean's going to make me cry over here, you guys. Quit it. We got to go.
Awesome. Thanks for that, guys. All right. Well, last but not least, Frank.
Yeah. Thank you. Talk to you guys. I'm a musician myself, and I just love what you're doing, Wes. And Sean, if you ever get a chance to put some music out, I can't wait to hear it. This song that is going to close our show is the first song I wrote. It's called Love Is Your Witness. I actually, with one of my bosses, we were talking back and forth, and he said, because I deal with you, Frank, I'm going to go to heaven. So, and I was just like, he was honoring God. So I was just thankful. Frank, love is, keep loving people, because love is your witness. And then I was playing my guitar one night and I just wrote the whole song, and I just hope it blesses you guys. And remember, the love you give is the love that's going to lead someone to the Father and to Yeshua. So don't forget, your love is your witness. Be blessed, everyone, and have an awesome week.
Bless y'all. May he bless you.
Many blessings.
Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Let it shine out. Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Let it shine out. Let it shine out. It's better to give. That's the way. It's how you live.
I am so sorry, guys. I am having some technical difficulties here. Give me 1 second.
Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Let it shine out. Let it shine out. It's better to give. That's the way. It's how you live and what you say. A good deed can right around, overcome evil with a sound. Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Love is your witness. Let it shine out. Let it shine out. Only love can set you free.
All right.
By His grace, it's all you need.
All right. Can y'all hear me now?
Love with a song. Let a good deed right around. Love is your witness. Love is your witness.
Yeah. Well, I had jumped out of there and jumped back in to mute my mic, and then I got moved, and I was like, "Whoa, what happened to the sound? Where's everybody at? Where am I going?" But I do want to thank y'all, Sean and Wes, for coming on and hanging out with us like that, man. Thank y'all.
Yeah, no worries, brother. Much love.
Yeah,
For sure.
Love is your witness.
Hey Vader,
Oh,
are you
Chorus
are you
over and
trying
over
to
again.
Vader? What kind of software? Yeah.